This is Jeff Byers from Creature Replica, and you're listening to the Tim O and Harley Show.
Welcome to the Tim O and Harley Show.
Thank you for listening to the Tim O and Harley Show. I am Tim O. Over there is my partner in mind crime, Mr. Ben Harley. Say hello, Harley.
What is happening, people?
Ben, Happy New Year. Harley.
Happy New Year, Tim O.
Happy New Year. Hello, all you deep drinkers out there.
This one's for you.
Yeah. You know, this year might be a good, there might be a good reason to get drunk on New Year. We always make fun or try to discover what is the, like, I know the story of the baby Jesus. So I understand Christmas. I am not an expert on other faiths, so I don't understand like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and other things like this. But I have a grasp on that they're a religious like a religious time of year for these faiths as well. The drinking faith on New Year, the worship of oh sweet booze. Oh, sweet booze. This year, I usually don't really totally understand. I guess at parties, that's what you do. So I get it. So it's tradition for humans to get liquored up at parties. I get that. But, I mean, why so much this night? You know, so, but this year, I think we could all use a global, hey, Happy New Year. Don't let the door hit you on your way out, 2020. Jeez. Man, what do we ever do to you?
Yeah, I was actually kind of looking forward to 2020. I thought it was kind of a cool, 2020. Yeah. But at that, Tim, when I was looking forward to 2020, that's probably 1980. I thought I'd be flying in a car. I'd be, be teleporting from here to there. You know what I mean? But, I'd be living in a mansion on a mountain somewhere, but none of that's happened yet.
Not quite.
So 2020 can kiss my booty.
Yeah.
Kiss it.
Yeah. So my hope.
Drunk talk there.
Right. My hope. I was actually in Dollar General yesterday, Mr. Ben Harley. As you can imagine, the characters in Dollar General are sort of like they're let's say a prehistoric version of Walmart shoppers. I guess you could say, so we had a little conversation and I got a resounding cheer when I told people that I was, people were talking about 2020. And it's like, oh man, this year and the pandemic and people were talking about, I'm sorry, was that less than 6 feet? I'm like, we're okay. It's all right. Just don't hack a loogie on my ear. We should be okay. And then I said, listen, I've been telling everybody that all I want is for 2021 to be boring. And I, for one, I am pitching in. I promise you, I will not get excited on the show or exciting on the show. But I might get excited, but I'll be the only one. Okay, so it'll be a boring type of excitement. I want 2021 to be nondescript. How about that?
Oh, yeah, I do too.
But you know what, folks? Listen, the world is us, correct?
Yeah.
We all have to pitch in and be boring.
We have boring. To do our part.
Yes. I want all the deep thinkers to drown in deep thoughts. Very deep thoughts. So let's please, we've had enough. And it was getting bad on the way there.
It was.
I think we were trying to ignore things on the way there. And finally it said, nope, you're
check this
toast.
Out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Mr. Ben Harley, listen, I got a little surprise for you. I heard the creamy caramel tone, the voice of a good friend of ours, Mr. Ben Harley. I spoke with Mr. Jeff Byers.
What?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. Let me tell you something. He's got some things cooking.
Does he? Okay, good.
He's got some things cooking, Mr. Ben Harley. I'm not letting the cats or caboodle. I'm not letting anything out of the bag. I'm going to let him do that. But we'll keep everybody updated. He's got some things going that might require some Kickstarter type thing.
Okay.
And we're a little shy about that. We do announce friends' Kickstarters and things every now and then. We're very shy online about doing anything on the show. If it's to me relevant or to you, then we'll do something like that. But this sounded like a pretty neat idea. Let's just put it that way. And it's not now. Anybody listening? Jeff Byers is the proprietor of Creature Replica, which is a cool. What do you call them? Figurine? I call them action figures.
Action
guys.
Bigfoot action figures.
Yeah. He makes, Mothman and Bigfoot and Sasquatch type stuff. Very, very active in the cryptozoology field when it comes to cool collectibles, put it that way.
Yeah.
So he's got some things. But glad he had some technical questions about how we do things. Which is one facet of what he was kind of talking about doing. So pretty cool idea. So he is working on that.
Tim, you're being very cryptic. No pun intended.
Yes, I'm trying to pique people's interest, Mr. Ben Harley. So once we know, we'll let you guys know. But it was very good to talk to Jeff.
Yeah, we haven't got to talk to him for a while. It's been a little while. Huh?
Well, we've all been kind of cooped up, Mr. Ben Harley.
COVIDed up, right?
We've been COVIDed and cooped up, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, it was very good to talk to him. Spoke with him about an hour or so and caught up on some things. And so Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to his family from the show and the Deep Thinkers there. So very good guest, Mr. Ben Harley. I like guys who are forthcoming, especially when he was talking about Bigfoot. That was good. I want to peel back those onion layers. I really want to know how people think and what they think about these things. So always good to talk to Jeff. Now, we also, Mr. Ben Harley, no surprise to anybody's been listening, we have our final gift of the year to the Deep Thinkers, or as we call you this week, you Deep Drinkers.
Deep Drinkers, yeah.
Now, Mr. Ben Harley.
Yes, sir.
Last 2 weeks, anybody's been listening, no surprise, we have had gifts, plenty at the end of 2020.
Trying to give back to our fans.
Yes. For just after getting through the end of 2020, Patui.
Get out of here.
I'm being an old world like Italian lady. 2020. Anyway, we have had gifts for the Deep Drinkers. We have had Mr. Jerry Chandler from Synapse Films on for a epic in-depth interview, Mr. Ben Harley. Let's see.
Kind of a trilogy, Timo.
I bet. Yes, it has been. So we are ending this week. This is the part 3. Last week, part 2, we did talk about, me and Jerry, we talked about how Synapse came to be. And then we kind of did spill over into the process of acquiring, restoring, and releasing what is referred to as catalog titles. Not new movies, but movies that we have seen before, like when they released Suspiria or Massacre at Central High. These are catalog, older films that they are releasing and restoring and stuff. So we did spill over. Now, that part of the interview, to me, that's my favorite. Because you might not know this, Mr. Ben Harley, but I collect movies, physical media.
You do, my friend, yes.
And I'd like to know a little something about how that gets put together and before it gets in my grubby little hands here. So, anyway, so this week, we basically jump right in where we left off last week, which I thought was a good way to do it. How about it? In the movie world, we call that continuity, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
So for a little continuity,
and a lot of these movies we do don't have much continuity.
Right. Actually, our official film this week might have some continuity issues itself. So anyway, so this is part 3, last part of our wonderful, extensive interview with Jerry Chandler from Synapse Films. So, Mr. Ben Harley, without further ado, part 3 of Jerry.
Our trilogy.
All right. Here we go, Mr. Ben Harley. Jerry Chandler. Here we go.
Hey, Jerry.
Do you ever feel like you're racing against the clock? Or is every deal different? I mean, is every deal... Because that to me, that blows me away because I always wonder why and when things go out of print. And is it because of the original deal or is it because supply is gone? That's something I really don't understand.
things go out of print if it's a legitimate company that their license expires, it didn't do well enough, they don't want to renew, or they don't renew for whatever reason. They sell out whatever their last printing was, and it's out of print. And until somebody else licenses the title and puts it out under their label, it's going to stay out of print.
Well, that part I understand, but is the amount of time, does that stopwatch start when the film gets released, or does it?
No, okay. It all depends on how you negotiate.
Okay.
This is all a negotiated term. In other words, there was this guy. It's such a tool, such an asshole. I don't mind, if people figure out who it is. But this guy came to us with the movie Madman.
Okay, yeah.
And I got in a fight with him on a board where he was answering me and I was answering him, and he finally quit because he was a lying piece of shit. But he came to us and he said, "Hey, I'll give you Madman. I want this much money and you can have it for 2 years." I said, "Why 2 years?" He goes, "Because I want to license it to someone else again in 2 years." I said, "Well, no, we want to do this movie. We want to do a restoration. It's going to take us 2 years to restore it." Well, I don't want to wait. I just want as much money as I can get. And that was for Madman. So we didn't end up doing it because there's no way we could have done it and put it out in the time period he was giving us for the license, period. Other times you can negotiate a from street date license. In other words, you say, it's going to be, 5 years from street date, meaning once you've done all the work, and you've announced this will be for sale on this date, that's when the clock starts ticking. It all depends what you negotiate. Now, you got to have a willing partner on the other side to agree. You either got to agree with them or them with you, but it's usually a compromise somewhere. Like all contract negotiations, you got to know what the important terms are. And we don't put in that any automatic renewal, because we just think it's a slimy kind of thing to do, to get win because the other guy wasn't careful enough. Business can be done in a really nice, pleasant, friendly kind of way, and everyone could still make money. You might not make all the money, but you'll make enough.
Right.
You share it with other people, and that's how the world turns,
Right. So it's basically dependent upon the deal, but it's all the above. It could start when you sign the deal. It just depends on what you guys agree on. So I would think for you guys, you would want more of a street date kind of deal, so you don't feel so pressured to put something out.
But we're notoriously slow, so there's not a lot of people that'll give us those kind of deals anymore. This is why we're trying to trim down the smaller films and stick with some of the bigger stuff, But let's see, what can I give you an example of? Okay, here's a good example. We had a long license on Brain Damage, and we were given permission to do the Blu-ray. That was our title for a long time. And I kept telling Don, Don, this isn't going to go on forever, We got to get going on the Blu-ray for Brain Damage. And he'd say, "Oh, but I'm working on this. I'm working on that. I'm working on this. I'm working on that." Before we knew it, Arrow announced the Blu-ray of Brain Damage. And we said, wait a minute. We dug up. Sure enough, our contract expired. They grabbed it. It was done. That's something we paid for those rights, and we were never able to exploit. And it's one of the saddest things, is to buy the rights to something and never actually be able to put it out.
Right.
So I like putting stuff out, even if we know we're going to lose money on it, if it's a great movie, because, you paid.
Right.
What do we pay
Yeah.
for? Look, it's all tense because Don needs these facilities to work at. And what he does is he oversees the work that's being done. He's not the technician himself, but he sits and watches everything the technician does. So if something needs fixing at that point, or if there's a question over this shade of color or that shade or whatever, he's right there at that point. If he wasn't doing that, if he was staying in Detroit, and waiting till everything was done, having it sent to him, and then him sending it back for corrections. It would add 3 years to every one of our projects. But the fact that he gets a lot of the major stuff done while he's supervising, as slow as we are, that saves a lot of time.
Right. So I'm an old musician, old professional touring musician. So we would call Don the producer. He's not the engineer. He's producing it. He's kind of standing in the background, like giving the okay and nods when needed, and kind of guiding the project to where he wants it to be, and allowing the people to use their talents to do that. So let's talk a little bit about then what Don does, because we've talked a little bit about the business, and that was pretty fascinating to me, because I again, weekly podcast, been doing this for 10 years, Jerry, and we talk all the time about. I remember movies like Orca and Prophecy, and these movies that we pounded the table going, where are these movies on Blu-ray?
I'd love to do Prophecy. I love that movie.
Oh,
that
my God.
scared the shit out of me when I was a teenager.
Oh, me and Harley, we have a friend, Mark Diamond from the Dwarves, the band The Dwarves, that he comes on the show sometimes, and he says he doesn't really have any friends to talk to about this stuff, so he's basically buddied up with me and Ben, and we could have an entire weekly podcast just about the movie Prophecy. We love it so much, and we had the same thing. It scared the crap out of us when we were younger, and now you watch it, it's so gorgeous. You realize it's a little silly, but the only thing that really doesn't hold up a lot is some shots of that bear, and we all know whose fault that was. That, there was a lot of tinkering around with the monster and that stuff, but we pounded the table. We were putting it out there, though. It's like, we will help put it out. We will do a commentary track on it. We'll do anything. Get this thing out. Well, now it's out, but I can't say I wouldn't like to see it out again. With a better, it was okay. It was an okay release. Sometimes it's unfortunate for us fans because we'll take it. And that's sad. It's sad that there's stories where you have something where I know that it would be a really deluxe release, and I get these movies I want a deluxe release on, and I'll just get what I can. It's sad when I'm buying Japanese imports of stuff just because I want to see.
I'll tell you a story real quickly that differentiates us from anybody else. Everybody's aware of how long it took us to put out Suspiria. It was like 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. And they were mad at us for ever even announcing it. Because why did they announce it if they weren't ready to put it out? One of those years, one of the 5 years, was strictly because that's how long it took us to get the 4.1 or 4.0, whatever it is, soundtrack from Sony. That was the sound that was the movie Argento shot it in. And Don said, if this is out there, we got to have it, because nobody does this. Nobody will take that original 4.0 mono or whatever it's called. I'm not the technical guy. So everybody out there who's fact checking me, forgive me. But, whatever he called it, that 4.0
It's
audio,
a surround sound. Yeah. We
got it. It took us a full 12 months. Sony said, who did you license it from? We had the licensor send them a thing. And then the legal department, well, we can't give it to you. Why not? This and this and this. It took a year to get that audio. Now, it was an extra year. Would you have wanted it without that, with that entire package, if that was missing? But it's missing on everybody else's version. Everybody else, the licensor in Italy, sent it to, the European versions. Nope. Japanese, nope. We are the only people who have it. We're the only people who have our color correction. The rest was all off that German disc, which was wrong.
I've got I think two imports and yours. So I know. I know what was out there, and I know the color saturation was way off, and things were different. I'm the kind of collector. I'm a little bit of a completist, I guess, so I like to absorb everything, and sometimes I keep the bad stuff just to compare it, Just to be like, man, look, this is what we had before. Look what we have now.
For us, the question of should we put it out or should we keep trying to get the audio, it wasn't a question. We were going to hold it up until we got that audio, one way or another. So, yeah, the fans, they hated us for that. They were so angry. I mean, and you should hear how when they post stuff, how cruel.
Oh, I hear it. I'm not always around. I'm a movie guy. It's like, yeah.
We barely get by. We make discs not for the mass market, but for the collectors. And there's not enough collectors to make a decent living. So we barely get by. And if we're not doing this, who's going to? Certainly not Shout Factory. So we sit there and we literally Don's hair has gone completely gray since we got into this business. We get stomach aches and shit from the crap we have to deal with on a daily basis. And yet we forego the money and put extra money into the production and the time and everything to release these. And then people get on these boards and they don't know we're reading and they say the worst shit about us. Some guy will say, Synapse needs to be punished for this. They don't boycott their. It's like, are you kidding me? Kidding me? But Don stopped looking at the internet. I still look, but it doesn't get to me because there's far more people who are quiet who absolutely love us than the few loudmouths that have to troll to make themselves feel like they're important people in the world.
Right. I used to razz you a lot about The Kindred because I love that movie. And even though to me it was just a good-natured joke because I sort of understood that if you
there was nothing you ever said that comes close to what I'm talking about.
I know, but even I stopped being like that because it's like, it's just not funny anymore. It's just like, I don't even want to bother you about it.
You brought up The Kindred.
Yeah.
Let me give you a story on Kindred.
Okay.
Kindred was very, very interesting. A guy came to us and he said, the Screen Actors Guild is selling the movie The Kindred. And we said, you're kidding. What do you mean selling the movie? It was a Hollywood film. They're selling it. Call this guy at SAG. So we do. And the guy gives me this number. And I said, yeah, we'll buy the movie for that. I said, we get the whole movie and we get the copyright and everything, right? And it's ours free and clear. He goes, absolutely. So we send the check and we get the movie and everything. And of course, we find out that all they did was give us a quitclaim deed. And quitclaim deeds can be used in any industry. Basically, what they mean is I acknowledge that you're handing me money. In exchange for that money, I'm giving you whatever rights I may have in this particular thing you're buying. That's what a quitclaim deed is. Okay. So if anyone ever offers you a quitclaim deed, run the other way.
Okay.
Because what it means is if they don't own any rights, they're saying, hey, I sold you whatever rights I may have had. I didn't have any. Right. You're out your money. That's what SAG did to us. So immediately upon buying and switching it into our name, somebody levies a lawsuit against us, a big Hollywood producer. So the first thing I did was I got him on the phone. I said, sir, we are your biggest fans. We love your movies. And we don't want to be in a situation where you are angry with us and you want to sue us. How can we make you happy? And he goes, give me my movie back. We said, absolutely. Would you mind paying us what we paid SAG? He goes, yeah, I'll do that. He wrote me a check for what I paid SAG, and we turned everything over to him. Now, instead of being his enemy, we're his friends. Now he's suing SAG over the whole thing. And he wanted to know if his lawyer wanted to know if Don would fly to L.A. just to be, in the trial, a witness. And we said, absolutely. And it just so happened, I dropped Don off at the airport, drove back to my office. I got a call from the guy. He goes, SAG settled. Don doesn't need to come. So I had to go back to the airport. They got him off the plane. He was actually on a seat on the plane.
Oh, wow.
But we got the movie. So anyways, okay. This took a number of years. we licensed it, or we bought it in 2006. We gave it back in 2007 or 2008, and nothing was settled with SAG till the 2000 teens.
Wow.
And at that point, the guy handed the movie to us. He goes, "Gentlemen, it's all yours. I still own it." I did a nice deal with him where he gets a lot of the revenue that comes in, but we didn't have to pay any advance. And we have it for forever, pretty much. And, it shows you can be a nice person. Even if you get screwed, you can be a nice person. And sometimes it just works out nicely that way. So now we got the Kindred, and it took us a long time to find the materials. Believe me, this whole situation was screwed up. SAG didn't just pull the movie out of thin air and decide to sell it. There were issues. But we got it all sorted out, and the movie is basically done. I forgot what we're waiting for, but it's going to come out in the Steelbook. Steelbooks are already done. They look amazing. And it's done. So the Kindred's pretty much done. It's just we're waiting. We switched from an old distributor to a new distributor, and we got to get settled in there, and then it's going to come out. So I'd say it'll come out in the first or second quarter of 2021.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I really have been. I want to see it so bad. I think the movie I'm championing now that I really want out, and I'm starting to dig. I always have to have a boogeyman movie. There's always a movie that I always and right now I think it's Savage Harvest with Tom Skerritt in it, the Lion movie. Do you remember that movie? Yeah. I mean, it's never been released on DVD or nothing. I don't think even VHS was released now. So now I'm pounding I want Savage Harvest, but to be honest, I'm starting to dig for them. Now the movies I don't have. But as a completist collector, I really do want this stuff. The thing is, I think we all have the same story. Your story about Fangoria and Famous Monsters is so similar to most collectors. I want you to be on the show talking about this is because I want people to understand when they're on those message boards saying stuff about you guys that you're them. You're them. You are also fans.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are. I mean, I'll honestly say, I honestly believe in my heart that we are God's gift to the horror collector.
Mm-hmm.
And why they don't buy more, they say nicer things about us is beyond me. But look, at the end of the day, I think if you go to the very core of the matter, we're doing these movies because we want nice versions of them.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, me and Harley have been talking to this show, and I'm like, I'll put up money. I got it. I'll put up. Right. I want this movie out so bad. Not only will I buy it, but I'll help put it out. I mean, and we have literally put it out there. Like on some movies, we'll do a commentary track for free. We'll do anything. Just let's put this out. But I want to know, and I want other fans to know that you are us, we are you, and you guys do this and take a long time, and these are the reasons. And that's a huge thing. And this to me it's fascinating because in a nutshell, we all know bits and pieces of your stories. Like we all know bits and pieces of it took a long time for that, or you had a snafu here, had to wait to find the negative. But when you start putting it all together, you start realizing what a monumental task each individual movie can be to a small company like yourselves trying to satisfy a whole collector base, which is not easy.
I mean, there's so much I didn't tell you, so many little aspects and factors, and each one has to be supervised, paid for. I mean, and there's a million moving parts, and then it's all got to come together.
Talk about a little bit. I was going to ask you to talk about, like, I know that you kind of you're more in the business aspect, and Don, like you said, is more of a technician. Is there anything you'd like to say about, because we've already kind of covered it a little bit, but is there something else you wanted to say about Don's work? Because I think he does do, his stamp is definitely is when you actually put the disc in and you enjoy that pristine transfer and everything. I mean, is there any comment you want to make on Don's work on this?
Tim, there's nothing I could say about Don's work that you or your fan base would ever truly understand. All I can do is give you an example. When you look at a Synapse disc, a Synapse, not so much Impulse, because he doesn't have the time for that. So I've done most of the Impulse stuff myself. That's why you'll see mistakes that you don't see on Synapse product.
And for the listeners, that's the adult side of you guys' label, right?
Right. Don assembles and coordinates every single aspect of the disc. So what does that mean? Aside from the transfer and the color and the dirt and scratch removal and the cleanup, aside from all that, aside from the audio and the 5.1s that we create because the movie wasn't shot that way, or the this or the that or the other thing, even the fucking packaging is all done. And I want to say all done. You don't understand. I mean, all done. Our artists will turn in the cover art. Our wraparound guy will turn in the text and everything for the back. And I'll look at it and I'll say, this is perfect. But you got to wait for Don. And I'll send it to Don. Don will come back with a 2-page list of words that are misspelled, commas that are in the wrong place. There should have been an apostrophe here. If you look on the 15th word, on the second sentence of the third paragraph, tell me why there's a space between and it, but the very next word has a smaller space between it. Human beings cannot see that. I don't know how he sees that. But he sees everything. He catches everything. And he at some future point is listening to the podcast and he hears this, he's going to be very embarrassed because the first thought in his mind is going to be, there's Jerry talking again. I missed the 15th, comma on the back of the Demon's tip on the steel book. He didn't mention that. Or back in our third release, which was whatever, there was a period that it should have been this. He didn't mention that. I don't catch everything.
Right,
Trust me, he fucking catches everything.
Right.
So, that would be the number one reason. If a guy is sitting there saying, well, why hasn't this come out yet? It could be because Don doesn't want a fucking mistake. Not one. He doesn't care if it's late or whatever. It's wrong. I'll tell you another story. And Tim, these are all absolutely true. I am not adding anything to blow it up because it doesn't need anything added.
Right.
Him and I are at a convention. I think it was at a chiller. It was somewhere. And we were out partying the Friday night. You work till 10 at the table, and then you got to try and find some food. Then you're out getting wasted till 2, 3 in the morning. But the next morning,
Saturday morning, yes.
Yeah, the show opens at 10, so you got to be there.
Right.
So it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I got maybe 3 hours in bed so far, maybe 2. And there's a pounding on my door. And I go, what the fuck? And I look through the little hole, it's Don. And I open the door up. I go, what is it? I go, it's only 7 o'clock. If you're going for breakfast, I don't want to go without me. He goes, dude, you got a problem. I go, oh, really? I'm not in the mood for this. What's our problem? I'm ready. I'm going to punch somebody. Who's giving you shit? What is it? What's our problem?
Yeah.
He goes, look. And under his arm is his laptop. So I go, he goes, sit down in the chair. There's a bed in the hotel room and then the 2 chairs. Okay. He pulls over the other chair. He sits on the edge of the bed. He flips open his laptop. He goes, watch. And he hits play. And it's the opening credits to Basket Case either 2 or 3. I don't remember which one. It's the very end of the opening credits where it rises to the top, fades to black, and opens up on a street scene, right?
Okay.
He plays that 3-second sequence for me and then hits stop. And he goes, did you see it? I go, what are you talking about? Are you insane? What are you talking about? Did I see what? So he gives me this exasperated sigh, and he goes, watch. And he goes back, hits play, and he goes, there. You know, like, you saw it that time. And I go, excuse me, dude, I'm not seeing anything. What the fuck are you talking about? He goes, so I have to go frame by frame? I go, apparently so. So he goes to the last word of the thing, and he goes, click, 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 click. It fades to black. Boop. There's a frame that it must have been the camera or the film element used must have gotten torn or something, because it was like it was put back together. There was like a lightning bolt looking line going across one of the black frames where the credits went to black, but it hadn't opened onto the street scene yet.
Right.
And he goes, we can't have that. I go, what are you talking about? Have what? He goes, that frame. It's a white line going through the frame. We can't have it. I said, why the fuck not? I said, the title is due. It's the street date's coming. How long would it take to fix? He goes, about a month. I said, how much will it cost? He goes, well, it shouldn't be too bad. It should only cost about $300-400. I go, $300 or $400 to remove one frame? Well, it's not just that. You got to readjust the audio for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Why? Because the audio is going to be off by 1/28th of a second? You got to do it. 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 But there was no taking no for an answer. If I would have said, Don, that's not important enough for us to miss our street date, spend extra money, and piss everybody off and get all this shit for some I couldn't even see when it went by, blah, blah, blah. No, that wasn't it. You can't do that. You can't talk to him that way.
Right.
Because this is way too important to him. That's like telling Picasso, you can't use that shade of blue. You can use whatever you want.
Right.
But you can't use it. You just don't do it.
Right.
So I said, okay, I go get it fixed then. I don't even know why he was telling me or showing me or whatever.
Right.
I guess it was his way of saying it ain't coming out on time. But for your listeners, this is what I could say about Don. This is what Don is like. There is nobody else in this business like that, like him. He's one of a kind. He's lightning in a bottle. There'll never be another one. And that's why I tell people to be gentle when you talk to him or you post things about us, because it ain't me. It's him. Mm-hmm. If Synapse is going to be just Jerry, then you're going to get a lot of stuff like Impulse. Mm-hmm. It's Don and his refusing to settle. There's no compromise with him. And that's why you have things that look like the way they do. But that takes time and it takes money. Right. And this is why we're always behind the 8 ball. We're not wealthy people, because you can't put all that money into fixing stuff up and just sell to the collectors. So, look, we make a little extra money on the mail order, and we make some here and there, and we get by. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But it's not like those giant, big companies. They don't give a shit. They know people will buy their stuff anyways. We weren't formed on that premise.
Right.
Our premise, our mission statement was to create the greatest versions of the films ever. And to his credit, we've stayed true to that. And really, that's all to his credit. I came from a much bigger business and with a big business background, and I don't rely on Synapse for my living, but Don relies on it for his. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I'm always saying, hey, if we want to do a little bit better, we could put a little less here and we could get this out faster and this and this and this. And it's all him. It's all his bull getting gored. And he says, no. For 26 years, he hasn't cut a single corner. There's something to be said for that. I don't think there's a single business out there that can make that same claim. If that's boring about Synapse, then Synapse is boring, because that's the only thing really that it's the Don factor that really makes us different from everybody else.
Well, and what are your thoughts too? Something else that I think is, and I've seen this over, especially like the last 5 years, that, and you guys, I think, were at least one of the spearheads of this, in my estimation. What I could see is the packaging on these films have really become extensive, and it's become a part of the collector psyche almost, with things like slip covers and, like you said, the steel books and things like that. Comment on that a little bit. I mean, your artists and the packaging and stuff. I know you guys take a lot of pride in that.
Well, okay, that's another very good question. And yeah, we took the lead on it because we had to take the lead on it. We're not funded by millionaires. We don't have any money behind us. Synapse is only what it generates every year. So on Suspiria, we spent close to $200,000. Maybe more than that if you count both versions. Probably closer to $250,000 or $300,000 on the restoration of the Blu-ray and the 4K Blu-ray. There's not enough people out there, collectors, that you'll ever make that money back. You never will ever make that money back. What we had to do was we had to figure out a way to do a more expensive version of it. The key was to sell it ourselves, because I'm sure your folks there aren't aware. You know, if I have a distributor, my distributor sells to all the businesses at 50 off. Then they got to make their money. So they take 20% of what's left. And now you're left with pennies on the dollar. If they sell a Blu-ray, forget Amazon. If they sell a Blu-ray in a store for $25, we get maybe $8 of that. And then from the $8, we have to take out the cost of the disc and the manufacturing and everything else. So you could see that even if you sell a lot of a certain title, you're not going to make a lot of money. So what we do is we did this, and we told our distributor, "Look, do you like selling our product?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, if you don't let us sell the steelbooks ourselves, you're not going to have any more product from us because we're going to be out of business." I said, "You're not going to be able to sell enough of these for us to even come close to making our money back." So we did the Suspiria steelbook. We sold it ourselves, and we were able to recoup our money. And then we did the regular version. And so a lot of titles may never see a regular version, because if we're not going to make our money back on the steelbook, we're not going to do it. Why should we let everyone have a nice, beautiful version of what we paid an arm and a leg for if they couldn't even support us? You have to understand, if you walk into a Best Buy and there's a bunch of $15 Shout Factory discs, and there's a $40 Suspiria from Synapse, you don't want to say, "Gee, these guys are pigs, and I'll buy all this cheap crap," or whatever. It's expensive because it doesn't sell the way that normal stuff does. We can't sell it at 15 because it won't sell enough. If you like what we're doing, you literally have to pay for it. If you don't pay for what we're doing, we're going to have to stop doing it. So it's not a crime to throw a few extra bucks our way, for a more expensive product, because look what you're getting. Whereas you buy the $15 Shout Factory disc, what are you getting? You're getting who knows, maybe a up convert of a lower, which we don't do. We don't do up conversions.
Thank you.
We don't. It could be, it could be some 1-inch master they used with no.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right.
You get what you pay for. So I told Don, look, if this is the case, if we're going to have to charge people, let's make sure it's worth every fucking penny. Now, look at Suspiria's front and back of that steelbook. That front picture was a hugely famous picture from an Italian gallery, as was the prism picture on the back of the steelbook. We had to find these artists, negotiate through the gallery for the use of those. And it cost a lot of money, way more than if one of our local American guys just did a piece of art for us. So I want everybody out there who has a copy of the Suspiria Steelbook and take a look at the front and the back of that Steelbook underneath the tip-on and look at how breathtaking that art is. That was very expensive. That was a gift. If you look at, here's another great one, and this goes back to, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I forgot. But this goes back to like some of my favorite movies. My favorite zombie film of all time is not Night of the Living Dead, and it's not Dawn of the Dead. It's the one zombie film that came out between the two, and it's Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great movie. Yeah,
I love that movie so much because it was like Night of the Living Dead, but not so much like Dawn, but kind of like Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
They made you care about the damn characters. I cared about every one of them. The shooting was beautiful. That first drowned zombie guy, he was fucking scary. You know, his slow, inexorable walk towards his soon-to-be victims goes throughout the first half of the movie. You know, he's there, and you know he's coming. They ran away, but he's still out. I mean, I love that movie. It was just so well done. So I told Don, you know, this is where my influence comes in. We got to do a steelbook, and the art has to be fucking spectacular. He goes, we hadn't talked to Wes, our original artist, one of our original artists in a number of years. And I said, we got to go back to Wes for this because we don't think, you know, it's got to be, we want something created, and no one creates like Wes. The rest of our guys are very good, and they could take an existing art and manipulate it and do great. But as far as drawing off the top of your head, nobody does like Wes. So Wes turns in the art, and I was just beside myself. And I told Don, we got a new problem. He goes, what's that? I said, well, look at the wraparound. Look at Wes's piece of art, and look at the size of the steelbook. We're going to lose this. We're going to lose this all around here. I said, and once the steelbook is closed, I said, you can't put Living Dead and Manchester Morgue on the cover. You can't. He goes, why not? I said, because we're going to lose. Where would you put it? We're going to lose the people coming down the hill, or we're going to lose this, or we're going to lose that. He goes, so what do? I said, let's put the title on the spine. So if people open up the steelbook, they still get most of Wes's picture uninterrupted. So he said, fine, we'll do that, right? So then we see the finished steelbook, and I said, you know what, Don, it's not enough. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we still lost all that around the edge. I said, we'll do however much it costs, we'll do posters, small posters that can be folded and fit inside the steelbook. I want the complete, uninterrupted art with no lettering, no title, no nothing, all of it included, folded in the steelbook as one of the extras. We didn't get anything extra for that. We didn't charge a penny for that. That cost us money. Then we did the slipcase because we didn't want to take a chance that someone would get their scratched or dented. That's all the slipcase is for. And we didn't charge a penny extra for that. Those slipcases are almost 75 cents a piece. Can you imagine how much we added to the cost of it that we didn't even think to ask the fan to pay for? We just kept it at a regular price, and that's it, because we wanted, now let's give them this, let's give them that, let's give them, because I would have loved that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have loved that poster. I could look at that steelbook and just stare at the art. I don't even have to watch the movie. So, yeah, everything really means a lot. I mean, now you bring you up to right now. I mean, you looked at Massacre at Central High.
Mm-hmm.
You looked at the O-card front and back, and you looked at the steelbook front and back.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know we had no usable art to work with?
I was going to ask you about that.
We had to search and search and search to find this, and we didn't feel those two arts on the slipcover were strong enough. That's all that existed. So what you see on the front and back, that's all shit Wes created. So, you know, I mean, you get me talking, and then I never stop. So I apologize.
No, I'm listening. I'm fascinated by it.
There's so much to talk about. I feel like we only just got started.
We will definitely have you back on because we've only scratched the surface here. But I would like to thank you profusely for taking all this time to sit down and to educate myself and our listeners on what a company like Synapse or Synapse itself, how it operates, and all the hard work you guys do before we ever get these discs and things in our hands. I appreciate it, Jerry.
Always a pleasure. Anything for you, Tim. Anything at all, and anything for the fans. I hope I wasn't boring. I hope I was interesting. And like I said, if anybody ever wants to get a hold of me, my email is steelplate@ameritech.net. You could send me any question and anything you have to say. We always listen. I would just say, be kind. We're human beings, just like you guys. And, like I said, if people ask us nice things in nice ways, then we open right up to them. We're not big on people who are already in a bad mood when they get a hold of us.
Right. Why not? I don't understand that. So, fair enough, Jerry. So,
I've been married for 35 years. Do I really need to answer that question?
Right.
Anyway.
All right, Jerry. Well, thanks a lot, and we will have you back on soon. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Same to you. Bye, everybody.
All right, Mr. Ben Harley.
All right, Jerry Chandler.
Jerry Chandler. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Yes, thank you,
3
Jerry.
weeks of pleasure for our audiences. Again, as I said, I'm sure people are thinking, at the end of 2020, you gave me this. So 2020, 2020.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
You beat it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jerry. We will have Jerry back on because as much as we talked about, we left a lot of stones unturned. Mr. Ben Harley, we are on a beach full of stones that need to be unturned.
Yes.
And
yes, we are.
yeah, we could probably just have like a subcategory of shows where it's just talking to Jerry and stuff. So, but we had a great time. We'll have him back in the show.
Again, yes. Yeah.
Well, let's get to our fishy little film, Mr. Ben Harley. The last film of 2020. Yeah, back to 2020. This week we have the A.I.P. classic. Blood of Dracula.
Alucard.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
From 1957, Mr. Ben Harley. Ooh, I am in my comfort zone. I am so comfortable.
Definitely.
I'm like rolling around in a bed of freshly fluffed pillows. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, from 1957, Blood of Dracula. Yes. Let's see here. So let me get out Movie Guy and give you a short storyline synopsis for The Blood of Dracula.
Yeah.
Under hypnosis, a young woman turns into a vampire. That's how I pitch my movies, Mr. Ben Harley. I walk into the offices of A.I.P, which look a little different in 2020.
Yeah.
And I just say, I got a great idea for a movie. Under hypnosis, a young woman turns into a vampire. You got it, kid.
Yeah, boy.
Here's $6,000. Go make me a movie. Yeah.
Cut you a check.
Right. All right. So, Mr. Ben Harley, what we have here again, 1957, Blood of Dracula.
Yeah.
A.I.P, known for all of the 50s schlocky, drive-in movies and everything.
Yeah.
Directed by Herbert Strock. All right.
Okay.
Now, Herbert Strock directed Gog, The Crawling Hand, but this is the gentleman who made How to Make a Monster and I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, also
there you go.
in 1957. All right.
Nice.
So,
all right.
here is my initial thing. So we have A.I.P. 1957. So
he was working a lot.
Yeah. A.I.P. 1957. We have The Blood of Dracula. And the first question I have, the first question going into this movie, I'm going to try to kind of settle it here, is why on earth was this movie not titled I Was a Teenage Dracula?
Yeah, that would have actually been really good.
Same director of 2 of the 3 movies.
I bet that was pitched at one point, but I'm like, they're probably because there's no male in the role or something.
I thought about that.
But I think that would have been good though to have the female wouldn't have bothered.
Absolutely. I mean, how's that going to look? Yeah. Guys like to look at girls, and girls like to see stories about girls, and vice versa. So I don't see what the point. I don't really see what the deal is either way. But then again, I'm old and don't care about that kind of crap. So I don't. I don't understand those prejudices, I guess. But the thing is the only thing I can think of is this was Blood of Dracula was on a double bill with I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. So the only thing I can think of is they thought, if we just have 2 I Was a Teenage movies, they might catch on. These are basically the same movie with different genders in the roles.
right, yeah.
Because that is, I mean, it is basically the same. It's a feminist version of I Was a Teenage Werewolf or I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. It is. That's exactly what it. Well, of course, it's 1957, so the feminists are evil. Even their intentions are kind of warped good, but in the end, evil. Yes. So the movie starts out with a I guess it looks like a family. It's a man and a woman, and what appears to be the daughter driving in the back of this car, and apparently she attacks the dad and tries to run him off the road, where he turns around and just belts her.
He does.
He just smacks her, and then the mom character turns around and says, "Give her another one." I'm like, well, here we go. You thought people didn't care about their parents in the movie The Spider or Earth versus the Spider. I got a movie for you. So what we have is the obvious a stepmother, an evil stepmother, a father who likes to slap his daughter around, and they're in a rainstorm, and the daughter's not happy. Yeah, the daughter's not happy with the situation. Tries to run the car out the road. Does basically run the car out the road, and then they all light up cigarettes. Where the dad's like, I don't appreciate you smoking, but or approve of it, but let's just do it.
I ain't going to see you for a while. So
it's 1957. Let's do it. Yes. So, the mom, the real mom, has just died 6 weeks ago, and the dad's already married just to another woman, moving away and dropping the daughter off at a girls' school, a boarding school.
So they go on their honeymoon.
So they go on a honeymoon and basically just dump her, just
unload her.
There. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yes.
Don't forget to write now.
Right. So of course she shows up, and then the girls are weird to her, and they get into her stuff, and they start.
They come in
her.
and just they come in and just totally just take over, bum rush her.
Right. Right.
Going through her things. Yep.
Yes. Exactly. So. I'm kind of running through it quickly here, basically. Then she, because it is the same. It's a thinly veiled, exact same plot as these other I Was a Teenage movies, where the teenager runs into someone of authority, an adult, and that adult is the one who transforms them into a monster. So the real bad guy is the adult pulling the strings in this. So she meets, I guess, one of the teachers or professors there who picks her out because she's new, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
This is where it gets weird. Okay.
Well,
the slaps weren't weird enough, and the whole thing.
Oh man, those things are nuts. Man. Right. That was nuts. So, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's another student that also is sort of under the influence of that teacher, teacher, and she kind of says, well, I know someone who's kind of, she might be, she's an atom bomb or something. She's, and so they kind of set her up a little bit.
We got to talk about so when the girls goes to boarding school, yes, we find out the other girls are bullies, and they're tough girls, they're T-birds, they're rock and rollers, they're no good. Yeah. So, but one of the teachers there is this is where I guess you'd call it the 1957 version of the feminist plot, the feminist thing is because she starts talking about how the world's run by men and all this stuff, and we're going to blow each other up, but she knows that within each one of us, each person, there's more destructive power than there is in the atom bomb. And I'm like, do tell. And she basically is she basically thinks that she can turn people into monsters, it will cause the end of nuclear war and everything, because we won't need it, because people will be monsters and we'll do monstrous things, and we'll change our ways. And It made no sense to me, Harley. And I watched it a couple times going, no, that's still, and kudos to the actress because she really pulled it off like she knew what she was saying. But there was nothing that made any sense at all in what she was talking about. Basically, I'm going to turn people into monsters to save the world. And in doing so, I'm going to destroy the world with the monsters.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
doesn't make much sense.
No, it sure doesn't. Bit, right? And then, so she has this amulet that she says she picked up from a pawn shop. The teacher does. Okay.
Yeah.
The amulet is from a pawn shop or an antique store. And the person from the antique store just happened to say, oh, yes, that came from a girl who came from the Carpathian Mountains.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, boy, here we go.
So what are you thinking? Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, sure it is. So the lady goes, oh, no, I went to the Carpathian Mountains myself. And that was one extensive trip to the antique store, Mr. Ben Harley.
It was, yeah, seriously.
Right now, I've picked up some things in the antique stores, but I haven't traveled across the globe to confirm the validity of what I'm grabbing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then, so with the amulet, she basically, not really a serum type thing, but more of I guess there is a little bit of a potion, hocus pocus.
Yeah,
but mostly it's it's mostly a hypnosis monster. And so what she basically does is, for the good of all mankind, she turns the main girl, Nancy. She turns her into a female eyebrow monster vampire.
Yes, very eyebrowish. Yeah,
yeah. Now in the whole movie, Mr. Ben Harley, I was looking for any of Dracula's blood.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
You see any blood?
Dracula.
Any Dracula blood? Anywhere?
I never saw Dracula either.
No, but I gotta say,
he was in the amulet.
Yeah, well, and I gotta say, when she turns into the eyebrow Dracula monster, vampire monster, I'm sorry, but boy, that looked a lot like Blackula.
Yeah,
didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost the exact same design. Everything. It really looked like now. That being said, I do have a vampire issue, and that was a monster vampire, so I was satisfied. And the teeth were good. There were some good monster teeth and stuff. It's not a horrible looking. It's a funny looking vampire monster, but it's not a bad one. That makes sense?
No, right, yeah. No, it was funny because she can turn it on and off real quick. Mm-hmm. 1 second she's and then she can turn it off, and then about 10 seconds later, there it comes again. It was just kind of weird. I was like, oh, okay,
right.
That's a little strange.
Yes.
But,
and then the only connection to Dracula, or his blood, basically, is this a couple of bizarre references to some spooky stories, especially told from detectives.
Yeah.
About now how
Carpathia.
Yeah, one of the detectives had a roommate in college that was from the Carpathian Mountains.
Yeah.
And then this teacher just happened to get an amulet from the Carpathian Mountains.
Yeah. But I like how his superior laughed it all off. He's like, oh my God. So
the only thing missing was Neil Peart talking about how he had a drum set made from wood from the Carpathian Mountains too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, it's like, man, there's a lot of connections from the Carpathian Mountains in this area.
Yeah, who's from Carpathia? Attila the Hun or someone, or who was it that was from?
Dracula.
Yeah, exactly.
And his blood apparently. So. And this detective is just taking a lot of crap. He's taking a lot of grief because he keeps these detectives all stand around in an office going, well, we've found a victim with puncture marks on its neck and drained of blood. And the one guy goes, well, I had a roommate in college from the Carpathian Mountains and told stories about Dracula and vampires. And the police are like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, what the hell were you just talking about?
Yeah.
You see no connection here at all?
Yeah. I'm talking about the chupacabra. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Yes. What?
No cop ever has a wherewithal to say, maybe vampires don't exist, but a mad killer thinks they do.
Yes.
So he's found a way to create this scenario here.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Oh my goodness!
Yes. So we get a lady eyebrow, Mr. Ben Harley, a lady eyebrow monster. It's kind of like my Wicked Witch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like them.
Yes. But here's the problem, and let's go to this. The poor thing doesn't show up until a long time into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Tim, I thought the real villain of the movie at first was that creep that threw out in the window and sang that song, Puppy Love Song. Or whatever.
Oh, my God. That guy was, first of all, the worst actor. And then you're wondering, why is this guy even in this movie?
And they go, now you know.
Yeah, come on, Brisket, sing me a song. I'm like, boy, here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
Kimmel, remember that time when you and I we were in Louisville and we had a hotel party and I said, Kimmel, sing us a song. And we had dance numbers and everything. Remember?
That was the time I threw you off the balcony, remember?
Yeah. It ended with me flying off the balcony. Right. That dance number. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. I just kept laughing through this whole thing. I'm like, they got dance numbers worked out and everything here. And it's just like, it's the worst song. I'm like, I'd rather hear the real Puppy Love Song.
Right.
On 12.
Right.
And oh my God, I couldn't take it. I'm sorry, Tim. Got us off track there, but I had to mention the dance number.
Oh no! It was stark. It was in your face, and you couldn't help but to notice. Another thing, Mr. Ben Harley, that was stark and in your face was the old lady who was the house mother.
Face?
Yeah, Miss Rivers. Miss Rivers.
Yeah.
Did that jump out at you too when girl goes, here comes old horse face, she's on a warpath again. I'm like, wow, that was kind of mean. Then the lady comes down the stairs. I was like, well, holy shit, that is a horse face. Good gravy.
God, yeah. I was like,
she neighed at me.
Yeah, it was bad. I was like,
her mane curled and everything and permed.
She's on the warpath. She was madder than a buzzard too, boy.
Right.
Mad. Jeez.
Right. She was mad because those dopey. There's one guy who was like working on the campus of the girls' school, and I think all of the girls thought that he was their boyfriend, and apparently they were sharing him, and they were all okay with that. But those are some goofy dudes. He had a couple friends. That were, I guess, like they were supposed to represent the guys in the movie. First of all, they're in their mid 30s, so I was thinking about I almost called the cops on the movie while we were watching it.
Yeah,
in classic 1957, college kids are in their mid 30s, so that's when you had a career in college, right?
Right. Those were the townies, Tim. Those were the townies.
Yes. So let's see. So we have all that going on, and then there's a sadly dropped subplot where I guess the girls have a secret organization called Birds of Paradise. I was waiting for that to have some relevance in the film, and it really didn't. Yeah, definitely a 1950s version of sort of a feminist horror film. I said, even though the feminist is evil, and we apparently have the power to destroy the world with our bodies.
Women do for sure.
Our worlds anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Nola had a body that might destroy. You could see her coming around a corner for a mile.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Okay, so this is what this movie's like. And people are like, "What are these two guys talking about?" Like, like
they mumble mouthing about. Like,
are they talking about a movie? This movie is so silly and so like almost incomprehensible.
Yeah.
They basically, it's like a cookie cutter movie. They took the cookie cutter mold from I Was a Teenage Werewolf, I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, even How to Make a Monster, they threw the ingredients and shook it all up. And here you go. They put it back into a movie. Nola, though, was probably...
I was sad when she met her demise.
Well, when she met her demise, first of all, we don't have to know how they identified her body. Okay.
Yeah, no.
They knew who she was. Even they tore her face out, they could figure out who she was.
What did they say? Her parents?
Yeah.
Well, they contacted her parents and said, no, they're
circus performers.
At that point, I was like, this is all right.
It's like Nola herself is a circus act.
Yes, she is.
So, Mr. Ben Harley, this is a whack movie.
That one threw me for a loop, that part. But
it did. But the problem with the movie is that you kind of get a 50s bad girl movie, and then all of a sudden you get an eyebrow monster like over halfway through.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie is a joy to watch because it is so silly and so off the wall and like I mean, as soon as like the Nancy character gets slapped in the beginning,
you're like, what the?
And that's how it starts. Well, Fred starts where she tries to kill them all. I'm like, what are you doing?
I'll take them off the cliff or whatever.
The dad smacks her. I'm like, oh my God. And then the mother goes, hit her again. What?
Give her another.
Yeah, I about recoiled in horror from the film itself, like right away. It's like, Mr. Ben Hoy, I'm not sensitive, but I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, it was quite the beginning.
Right.
Let's do it that way. Oh,
do we need to talk
Reminding
about
me of supper at dinner at the Harley house?
Right. Not to mention all the day for night for day shots. You had no idea like it was day or night time at all.
No, he never did.
There was really no good reason why the evil professor is turning Nancy into the eyebrow monster. But what's even worse is you're trying to figure out what the point is, and then you tell me what happened there at the end.
Man, I don't know. I'm not really even sure.
We can't even spoil it for people because it's like, was that even like how that was shot? I mean, like,
I don't think so.
I have no idea what happened at the end. And then they try to wrap it up with some poignant statements about something or another.
Right.
And you're like, wow, man, kids were really like making out hardcore during these movies, weren't they?
Like, what just happened? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Keep kissing. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness.
Well, that movie was a big hit. Well, it played the drive-ins. Of course it was a big hit. There was a lot of kids who went and quote saw it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like it's funny because like she goes back to that lady and was basically trying to tell her like I don't want to do this. I know what you've done to me, and then she turns into the eyebrow monster and kills the lady. But then they both kind of die together. Like, does she stab her or something?
No, remember the professor knocks the Nancy eyebrow monster into a table.
Oh yeah,
and the table falls over with something sharp. And then there's a close up of the professor going and falling out of frame. And then you have a close up of the eyebrow monster Nancy laying on the sharp object. You never really saw anything that happened whatsoever. You just there to assume that action took place. And you missed it, I guess. I don't know. Okay, I guess. You know. Yeah. So Harley, I have no idea what the hell is happening in any of this movie at all. I mean, and I watched it twice. It wasn't like I was confused. It was confused. I was right on board. It was confused as hell. I didn't know which way was up. So
no.
But I gotta tell you here, this movie, the Achilles heel is the title. It really should be At least I was a teenage vampire.
Sure.
But they really they try so hard. They stretch so hard to make some kind of connection to Dracula in the Carpathian Mountains.
Which, I don't understand why.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
You might as well have called it I Was a Teenage Dracula, and you should have. I think if the movie would have been called, now Angio was noodling around. She found that there was a movie called I Was a Teenage Vampire. I was like, yeah, but I think it was a couple years after this. So they really should have just called this I Was a Teenage Dracula. I mean, just to kind of complete the circle, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of, and I tried to look, and I'm not the only person who thinks this, by the way, this movie, but is that they just had it on a double bill. They just didn't want to have the same title. On the double bill. That's the only thing I can think of, because what it hurt was the legacy of the film. Yeah. That's what's hurt here.
Yeah, because it doesn't have one. I don't.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's not a very well remembered film. Even for me, it's such a nondescript title, and I know that's kind of odd, or it's such a forgettable title. You don't forget I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
No,
you don't forget I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. Even How to Make a Monster.
Right.
You don't forget. But The Blood of Dracula, that could be a Hammer film.
That's what it sounds like every other Dracula movie that ever been made.
It's like The Mummy's Tomb.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How many movies
of the Mummy? Yeah,
Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
Yeah.
Tomb of the Mummy's Curse.
Yeah, right.
Curse of the Mummy.
Mummy's Curse.
Yes, I mean, like it. So it does. It sounds like it sounds like a Hammer film or something. It just doesn't. Yeah. A.I.P. was usually a lot better at giving you a title you'd remember with the poster art and stuff. But Blood of Dracula. Right. No. These guys did movies like Val Lewton was forced to do. They came up with a title and a poster first, and then they made the movie. Yeah. I think this one was changed at the 11th hour to a different title. That's my personal opinion. I got no evidence of that whatsoever.
Sure. No, I'm agree with you on that, buddy, completely. Because it's just, I don't think the title was right for this. No. And I do agree that it should have probably been called "I Was a Teenage Vampire"
or Dracula. I think I was a teenager, and maybe you're right about the girl thing. Maybe it would confuse kids, but look, there was no blood of Dracula either. I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it.
I didn't see any blood of Dracula. No,
I didn't see it. Yeah, I don't know. So, but that being said,
no cup full of blood. I saw none on the floor or the wall.
Right. But that being said, this is a goofy, fun movie. I mean, it's so goofy and so fun, and it's only like an hour and 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it's real breezy. Breezy.
It is.
But the same thing, though, what's funny is that real abrupt endings, that are just like, oh, wow, it's over. Okay.
Do you think the original girl, the leader girl of the girl gang of the Birds of Paradise, do you think she was jealous that she was not also transformed into an eyebrow monster? Because it could have been a neat twist if they both would have been eyebrow monsters, got in bikinis, and Jello wrestled.
And then fought. Yes. With eyebrows.
I don't care. Give me the bikinis and the Jello. We're fine. I'll look past the eyebrows. It'll be all right.
Goodness.
Mr. Bennett. See, that's me. I'm making the remake of the film.
Yeah.
It's like, people are like, I went and saw the remake of Blood of Dracula. It was terrible. There was no fight at the end in Jello. That's just nonsense.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, look at the original ending, buddy, and you tell me if I would remake that.
Which one's better?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Both times they fell on something sharp. One time was just a little more rated R.
Yeah,
so, I'm going to give the movie just a mild Great Bape up. It was a fun little 50s movie. It's harmless. I don't think it was quite as good. I did like the monster, though. And the one thing in these A.I.P., these 50s, right here, actually, these little, the werewolf, and I was a teenage werewolf, the Frankenstein monster, and I was a teenage Frankenstein. I think they're good monsters for 1957. And I think that this was a good vampire because I don't like the romantic vampire who waxed philosophical and bull crap like that. This was an eyebrow monster vampire.
Back.
Yeah, this was
slicked back hair.
Yes. And you know what? I like Blackula. Well, she did look like Blackula a little bit, and I like Blackula.
Yeah.
Like Blackula to me was kind of a creepy movie.
Crazy,
yeah, it was great. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
I don't know. As far as 1950s vampire designs, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I like my Salem's Lot type.
Well, that's better, of course. Yeah,
exactly.
She had some pretty good teeth. As a matter of fact, Ben Harley, apparently, this was the first English language movie that featured a vampire with visible fangs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's something neat.
Yeah. So it had some, and those are some good grimy teeth. I like that. Yeah.
She was chewing on a brownie before she.
She was chewing on that Glenn guy that came out of nowhere. Glenn, I got no room in my mind right now for Glenn. I'm still stuck on Eddie, the groundskeeper guy, the luckiest guy in the world.
Luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. God, they were fighting over that. I mean, you can be that dopey and be the groundskeeper on a girl's. I'm just throwing it out there,
Yeah.
People are looking for work out there.
Profession.
Yeah. Everybody looking for Harley. You've been looking for summer jobs, right? I mean,
yes, I have. I need to pick up some summer work.
The summer school girls are the crazier ones too.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna end up in prison. Yeah, all right.
Again.
Again, right? Tim. Yeah, I'm gonna say a mild Great Bape up as well for me. It was fun though. I mean, it was all right. I think if we had a little more, as I always say, a little more eyebrow or vampire, might have been a little better, but that's okay.
Yeah, it definitely needed more monster. All right, Mr. Benhart. So I'm going to give it a mild Great Bape up. You're going to give it a mild Great Bape up. A goofy, silly drive-in movie, but it's breezy. Doesn't outstay its welcome. The monster isn't that bad. She gets fairly vicious. I don't like many of the actors or characters in the movie. But it's so goofy, I don't really care that much. Like the Nancy character, I don't like the actress very much. I didn't find her very appealing. I didn't really root for anybody in this movie. Actually, I probably rooted for Horseface.
Yeah, I like her. Get him.
Horseface is all right.
Yeah, he's on the warpath.
Right. All right, Mr. Ben Harley. Again, to everyone out there, Happy New Year! Yay! And again, 2020.
Yeah, beat it.
Yeah, we're done with you. Well, we're going to have a boring 2021, Mr. Bernhardt. I'm telling you right now. I'm pitching in. We will pitch in. It won't be very helpful when we have Mark Diamond here coming up on the show. No, because then all of a sudden the boredom is just going to blow right off of the show, and that's going to suck for everybody. But thank you, Jerry Chandler.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes.
That was a hell of an interview. We appreciate it. Very enlightening. I learned a lot. Hopefully the listeners learned a lot, and we will have Jerry back on, as well as we will have the Fresh Prince of Darkness, Mark Diamond from the Dwarves, on very soon on the show, too. So, Mr. Ben Harley.
Socks off.
Yes, Mr. Ben Harley. To 2020.
Get out of here. Yeah.
But all you deep thinkers out there, you do it on 2020. But hey, be good to each other. Stay safe.
Yes.
We'll be right back here next week, so stay spooky, and we'll talk to you then.
Keep it creepy, people.
You've been listening to the Timo and Harley Show, brought to you by ScreenPrintingFactory.com, your affordable one-stop solution to all your screen printing needs.